Cool. So welcome and good evening, good afternoon, good day, depending on when you are watching this video. Today is going to be a premiere on my channel, one of many in the last 18 months or so, because today I'm running my first English playthrough of an RPG. And it's also the Dark Eye, no less. So I've had requests on my channel for English speaking content, RPG playthroughs, which is a bit of a problem because the only other person that I know who is a role player and whose English is excellent is actually the wonderful Victoria, who's sitting next to me here and is waving at the camera. And it's quite difficult sometimes to find stuff that you can play with just one person. And the problem with the Dark Eye is that there is very little English content that would be suitable for playing with just one person. But I found a solo adventure called The Vampire of Havena, which I did a playthrough on my channel, but in German. But it's actually kind of like a choosing your own adventure. But you can play it with a GM. So basically, instead of Victoria having to sit there and read everything, I will do the reading for her. And we can play this interactively. She's got a rogue as a character. So maybe you want to say a couple of things about your character.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me as the guinea pig. Curious to see Dark Eye, how it's in English, because I'm also quite a newbie to the game system, to be honest. I'm not newbie to roleplay, but I'm still learning a lot about the game system. I'm playing Maegwyn, or short Meg. She is 17, so still quite young, and yes, a rogue, so picking locks and maybe getting her hands on things that are not hers is something she kind of does quite well. And she's quite slim, not too big, rather on the smaller side, has red hair. I think that's the only thing where she just like, okay, red hair, quite visible. And the most interesting, probably, she has two colored eyes, so one eye is green and the other one is brown. Mm-hmm. And yeah. She is born and raised in Havena, so let's see what her hometown has for her. I'm really curious.
Okay, so for those people who are maybe new to the Dark Eye, I will briefly show a map of the continent where the Dark Eye is mainly set, and that's the continent of Aventura. So it's actually quite big, and there are adventures that have been written over the last 36 years that are situated in every single corner of this world. But Havena is actually here on the coast, and as you can see, it's basically in the delta of the Great River. And it's quite an old city, and several hundred years ago it was partly flooded, some say by a god, some say by a demon, but we don't really know. And parts of the city, the old city, are still submerged, and that's where weird things happen. It's also one of the more famous cities in the lore. We've got two scenario books and two descriptions for this one city that have been published over the last 34 years. Even for DSA 5 there is, or TDE 5 there is, a new book, a new resource book for Havena, and it's one of the cities that was the first city where city adventures were set in the 80s. So a lot of old players that have been playing the Dark Eye for a long time are very fond of this city. So we will dive right into it. Out of breath. Your lungs are burning and the cold sea air makes the piercing pain even worse. You brace your hands on your knees and fight for air. Your hands. A bleeding wound crosses your right palm where you slipped from the rope, and warm blood sticks to your fingers. You are not one to take law and order as seriously as the priests of the sun god would prefer, but you have never had trouble like this. Suddenly, you hear muffled footfalls on the wet pavement, boots stepping into puddles. Somebody's approaching the corner where you have paused. You can barely see 10 yards through the dense fog, and the muffled sounds seem to come from far away. Weak lantern light shines down on you from the other side of the road. A dark shadow peels from the grey mist. If not for the omnipresent fog, you could find your way on this full moonlight, but it's hard to see even the row of houses opposite you. This is not the first autumn full moon night you have spent in the harbour of Havena, but you cannot recall one this foggy. You've trouble seeing your pursuers or even where to turn next. You cannot trust your eyes, and you trust your ears even less. Sounds echo in the streets. A cat's mewling, an old raven's call. Footfalls that seem to approach from all directions at once. You're sure that you're being approached by footfalls from the alley to your left. You don't want to run back, and you don't want to run right into your pursuer's arms, so you only have two choices. You can go down further down the street, or you can go to your right. Which do you choose? You can go straight on, or you can go right.
She would go right.
She
A
would
little
go-
bit what she learned, that what bunnies basically do. Run back and forth, not a straight line. At least you have the chance to maybe get rid of people following you. So we'll take a deep breath and start running.
Over there! The angry shout is followed by another, and your pursuer's footsteps change from a steady walk to a quick run. Time to get away. You ignore your burning muscles and the pain in your hips as you run down the side alley. At the end of the street, the neighborhood changes over to the simple huts of fishers. Nets are stretched out to dry between some houses, and coils of rope create tripping hazards on the slippery cobblestones. A short distance ahead, the road takes a sharp bend. Most of the huts are dark, but after you accidentally knock over a bucket, causing it to roll noisily through the alley, you get the feeling that some residents might be watching you now. You come to a cross street. Check your intuition, please. -2.
Intuition. I rolled a 1.
Oh, ooh, critical success. Wow.
That's a good start. Can we keep this up, please?
This will give you a re-roll later at your when you choose to, okay?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks.
You hurry down the street towards the cross street when suddenly a shadow looms out of the fog. You take a step to the side and duck, and a gust of wind rushes past your head. You stop running and turn to see a large woman rushing towards the spot where you had just been standing. Apparently, she had hoped to take you out with a punch, but you avoided her attack. She almost falls off balance when her swing misses you, but she recovers with surprising grace and draws a long dagger. Looking past the weapon, you recognize the red-haired woman from earlier. The Torvala glares at you like a raging bull. You cannot avoid a fight. Unfortunately, she's probably the better fighter. Maybe you can save yourself with a determined attack. You draw your weapon and charge. So, what you're now going to do is you're going to... I think you've got a rapier, probably.
I think a saber.
Or a saber, yeah.
Let me see, I think a saber. Yeah, a saber.
Okay, so you have the initiative. Because she's basic, in my opinion, you've got the initiative simply because she's off balance.
Okay, her main goal would to try to get the woman off her feet. So she can start bolting again. So she would go rather for the lower part of the body and would swing. Let's see how this goes. That is a good roll. That is a 6, which
Ooh, wow.
definitely will hit.
Okay, let's see if she can parry. And she doesn't. So you basically, you can do damage.
See, the saber is 1d6 plus 4, which is a 6, so a 10.
Oh my god.
I'm
Wow.
really well. I'm scared of what happens later on. I will fail miserably later on other important stuff, but hey, at the beginning at least.
And she has no armor, so she actually takes 10 points of damage. That is quite serious. After
She
you've
wouldn't
exchanged...
want to murder the lady blankly.
No,
so...
you're not killing her, but she is wounded. She's seriously wounded. After she's down by 30%. After you've exchanged a single blow, the Torvala steps on an especially slippery cobblestone. Yeah, because she's in pain. The momentum of her attack combined with the slippery surface causes her to stumble forward. You cannot hide your bold grin at seeing the startled expression on her face. You avoid the dagger easily and sidestep to let the woman slide past you. Without a sound, she smashes into a barrel that sways, falls, and buries her in a mountain of stinking fish. Although the scene's quite funny, you do know that there are still some people behind you. What do you want to do? Do you want to run away, or do you want to stay and, mock her a little?
She would... probably just be an adult, stick out her tongue, and just run. That
Okay.
would be like, with a grin, tongue out, just like, that's something you deserved, and she would just bolt again.
Okay. You sprint down the alley, but you do so carefully, because you know that you've been lucky, and nobody was really hurt. Okay, she will recover, you know that, and the fish, well, they've probably been spoiled, but basically, you keep going, and you run away as suddenly as you can and as fast as you can, but in the mist you miss a turn and you suddenly find yourself at a dead end. A 9-foot wall rises up in front of you and you hear footfalls echoing through the streets behind you. There is only one way out of here. You must climb the wall.
Great.
So you can try if you can climb the wall.
She will definitely give it a go. Let's see, climbing. Okay.
It's courage, agility, and strength.
Yes. Ooh. It started so well. The first is a 5, then a 6, and then a 19, which is really messy. Let me just do the math if it still works out, because I have strength. No.
Do you want to use a chip?
Yes, please. She doesn't want to be stuck there.
So you have 3 ships which allow you to re-roll up to 3 dice.
I will just re-roll the 19. Yep. The rest is perfectly fine. So it's a 15, but it's enough. She does it, at least with one. How do you say it in English? The QS?
I have no idea. Quality level.
Quality level, I guess.
Quality level, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. With the grace of a cat, you jump to a crate and from there to the wall, using your momentum to carry you up. You swing your legs like a pendulum and wind up sitting on the wall, which is much wider than it looked. You look down from where you are sitting and think you see the sparkling surface of a body of water. A channel on the other side of the wall is probably too narrow to navigate, but definitely too wide to jump. Running along the wall seems to be your only option for escape. To your right, the coping ends at a 3-story warehouse. Its unwelcoming outer walls offers almost no handholds. To your left, the wall extends so far that its end is lost in the grey of the fog. You notice a second wall that meets yours at a right angle. Behind that wall, you would gain at least some temporary shelter from your pursuers, even though it's only a few bricks wide. Before anybody can see you, you balance at the intersection of 2 walls. One more step! Make another check using climbing, but this time plus 3.
Okay. That was almost a 20, but it moved to a 2. Thank goodness for that. How much do you have? Plus 2, you said?
Plus 3.
Plus 3 even. Yeah, she easily does that.
Okay. You are a ninja. You move forward gracefully for a few more yards and then drop down behind the wall. Can you do a body control check for me? -2, please. To see if you fall on your face.
We are changing this crazy die out. That was a good choice. It's still body control. Agility, that's easy. That is double agility and con. Yeah, she does it.
Okay. You're rolling really well. You hit the soft grass with your feet and do a graceful shoulder roll. Wow. Luckily you did not land on the cobblestones just a few feet away. Fex helps those who know how to help themselves. You pick yourself up and disappear through the gap between 2 houses. It's still very, very cold and still very, very wet. And there is a lot of fog still.
Okay.
Maybe I should avoid running through narrow alleys in the dark, you think to yourself. Just as you leave the alley, another shadow rushes towards you. This one is larger than that other shadow, which proved to be the Torvala. Something hits your head hard, and you black out.
Great.
So now let me take you back to earlier this evening.
Okay.
The Disc of Prior set an hour ago, but given the dense fog that has been drifting through the alleys of Havena, the largest port city in western Aventura, since this morning, you would not even have noticed. You can barely see the other side of the street in this fog, and you would probably have crashed into some bystander if you had been out wandering the alleys. In the past, you would have tried to use this opportunity to steal purses from the unwary or pull a precious ring from someone's finger, but your years in the alley of the city have taught you to be more careful. When you cannot judge the mark, you cannot judge the risk, and you cannot afford to pay with your life because you try to steal a few lousy silver thalers from a dangerous thug. Not in these times. A shiver runs down your back, and even though you are sitting in a warm tavern next to a crackling fireplace, the stifling air and the heat emanating from 36 guests of the Hero's Refuge only add to the warmth. Hero's Refuge, you muse. When was the last time there were heroes in here? You do not know the answer, but it must have been quite some time ago. Heroes protect other people, face dangers, and become rich and famous. But there've never been any famous heroes in the Hero's Refuge, and if anybody had made Havena's alleys safe for families, you would know. No, these are dangerous times, and although you would never admit it, fear of the danger lurking in the streets is what made you stay indoors tonight. 4 weeks ago, a dead mermaid was found in the harbour. You had never seen one of the green-skinned fish people before, partially because these shy sea creatures live in the swamps of the Undercity and tend to avoid humans. The whole neighbourhood was upset when one of them was found floating in the harbour. The fish people bury their dead by setting them to drift towards the city during high tide. Old Grona said that she had never encountered a mermaid so far up the river that it could be seen from the city. By the time the guard pulled the dead mermaid from the water, half of the neighbourhood had gathered around. The healer that was called to the scene and the local priest of Efford both confirmed that she had 2 particular stab wounds in her neck, although she had appeared uninjured at first. People said that she must have been bitten by some strange animal. Less than a week later, another corpse was found in the water, this time a red-haired human woman who was not yet 20 years old. Her skin was pale as chalk, and those who saw the body swore that there wasn't a drop of blood left in her. The 2 circular stab wounds in her neck seemed to fit with the story about an animal attack. The 3rd corpse turned up in a side alley close to the Hero's Refuge, having been stuffed into a large barrel. This time the victim was a male elf. Elves are not well liked in the harbour district, as everybody knows that it's bad luck to have an elf aboard a ship. The guards sent for a blessed one of Hisinde, who confirmed that the elf's body had been drained completely of blood. He, too, had 2 puncture wounds in his neck. Rumours began to spread after the Blessed One explained that he could imagine no natural animal or monster that caused such wounds and drank blood. Some talked about a madman who massacred his victims brutally. Others speculated that a circle of cultists was performing human sacrifices in the Undercity and throwing their victims into the harbour. A short time later, people began to think that a ring of slavers, probably from faraway Al-Anfa, where slavery is common, was killing escapees as a warning to others. Now, most people are sure that there can only be one explanation. A vampire is preying upon the innocent in the streets of Havena. The smell in the tavern indicates clearly how many people believe in the vampire's existence. Besides the nasty smell of sailors, the typical mixture of sea water and sweat, a hint of urine, the fragrance of cheap booze, and the sour smell of vomit under the next table, this place smells mostly of garlic. Not just here, but in the whole neighbourhood. People are afraid, and superstitious sailors are buying up talismans and other good luck charms. A red-headed Torvala woman stands out from the crowd. Her clothes match those worn by employees of local contours, except that she wears her shirt open a bit to reveal her cleavage. 2 long wooden stakes connected by a piece of rope dangle from her belt, and the silver chain around her neck must have cost her a large part of her income. You can understand her caution. Not a week ago, a second red-haired woman was found in the harbour. Like the others, she had 2 punctured wounds in her neck, and her body had been drained of blood. This event caused a greater commotion than before because 2 inquisitors from the Church of Praios demanded to examine the body. It's well known that elves can use magic, but a new rumour suggested that these 2 women had been witches, and for a while people talked about a mystical or demonic avenger that wanted to rid the city of magically gifted creatures. Others think that the inquisitors themselves are to blame. Some talked about a divine curse, a miracle, or even a disease that causes magic users to kill themselves. One variant attributes the deaths to an experimental treatment by a healer who's brilliant, ruthless, daring, or simply mad. The kind of healer Havena has not seen since the days of Archon Migalon. Maybe the Dark Druid has returned and is casting new and terrible spells on his victims. Your head begins to spin with dark thoughts, and this after you came to the refuge to chase dark thoughts. You decide that perhaps a little socializing will help. There are many sailors in the common room. Most of them are local men and women who earn their living as fishermen and deckhands. Half a dozen pilots sit in the corner, passing a jug of spirits around and using the bad weather as an excuse to get drunk, since no ship would dare navigate the delta of the Great River in this fog. So basically, you have a choice what you can do. There are people who are gambling, and you could join them. You could also talk to a red-haired Torvala woman who's sitting at the counter with a tankard. She's staring thoughtfully into her beer. And then there are 2 city guards, Trode Peatcutter and Alrik Bleiter, and you could join them. You know each other, as it were, professionally, because you're a rogue and you steal from people and they are the guards. Mm-hmm. And you do know that they are now off duty, so they wouldn't really do anything untoward and kind of like try to capture you for anything. So you've got different options. You can talk to the guards, you can play a game, so probably dice, I believe. Yeah, they're gambling with dice. Or you could talk to a woman from Torval.
She would gamble, because that gives the option maybe of winning a few coins.
Okay. We play Svelte Valley Dice Boltan, a toothless sailor explains to you, noisily slobbering a mixture of spit and chewing tobacco on the table. Oh god. The stake is 1 silver thaler per round. He looks at you dismissively and adds, cheetahs go swimming in the harbour basin with a rock tied to their feet. Do you understand? You can either choose to sit down or just choose to move on.
She will sit down, just look him straight in the eye, and just like, I totally understand. I hope you too.
He looks at you and he kind of goes, all right then, lovey, sit down.
I'm sitting down in my chair, putting 1 coin on the table.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so, then give me a roll on board games.
There is a roll on board games?
Yeah, it's on the right side.
Looking for it. I have 1 on gambling. Do you mean the gambling one?
Yeah.
Okay. No. So what do we have? We have double FCG, 1 intelligence, that's fine as well, and I have 7, so I barely make it.
Okay, so you win 1 round. The other players are 2 old sailors. One of them has no teeth left. To his left sits a female person from Tula Media, so you can tell by the color of her skin that she is southern. She's got a southern complexion. And she is basically observing. She's not playing herself, but she's making comments like, every mistake she comments on, like, bitter as the fermented milk of an old Balka goat. But if somebody succeeds, she will say, oh, it's a wonder of divine providence filled with terror and mystery. Then there is an older woman who is also playing, and she is trying to chat up one of the sailors, and he's trying to fend off her advances, and she says, why are you so shy? I'm not the Vampire of Havena. And the Tulamedian woman replies, don't be so loud, you careless cross of a camel and donkey. It is unlucky to mention the evil by name. And then they start to discuss the recent events. Would you like to join in?
Yeah, although she would mostly listen and maybe just plonk a question in there just to keep it going. But she would be curious on what she can learn, what she hasn't maybe heard on the streets yet.
I don't believe for a second there is a vampire. I saw the dead mermaid and a second red-haired victim of this vampire. Since when do vampires drink the blood of sea creatures? The other two nod in agreement, their heads bobbing with such synchronicity that it looks like they share the same neck. Who says that vampires do not like the blood of fish people? Says the woman from Tula Media. I like beef, but I only get to eat it once or twice a year. 2 witches, a mermaid and an elf. This vampire must have exotic tastes. That's why I do not fear him. I am about as exotic as a saltrel in Nostria. And everybody looks at her because she is very exotic. The old sailor remains skeptical. Who says those 2 women were witches? She asks. Please! 2 redheads? And he looks at you. If they were not witches, am I the stupid one in my family? And his brother turns to him and says, yes. And then everybody looks at you and says, well, you ought to be really, really careful there, darling, with your hair and stuff. And the older woman turns to you and says, well, I could totally, you know, if we just took some coal from over there near the fireplace, I could totally make your hair black. Nobody would recognize that you're a witch.
Lady, I'm not a witch, and I'm not changing my hair color.
Well, suit yourself, but don't come running to me if you end up in the harbor and you're dead.
No worries. And if I'm dead, I will haunt you maybe, but that's another scenario.
She's clearly taken aback by the fact that you promised to haunt her when you die. And she basically tries to get up, but she's had one too many to drink, so she's a bit unstable on her legs. And then the other guys say, oh, let's just sit down and keep playing. So you can either keep playing or you can leave them and say goodnight.
She will keep playing, but she will, with the moment she's standing up, she will just laugh and just say, hey, I'm messing with you. Why on earth would I die? First of all, I'm not a witch. I don't have to be worried. I don't have magical abilities.
They look around and say, oh, she said the word, she said the M word, she said the M word. Okay, so make a gambling check, but with a penalty of 2. So sagacity, and intuition.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Triple 20?
No. An 18, a 1, and a 19, which still should be a
Which
fail.
is a 3, a 20, and a 21. Unless you have really good stats, this is probably a failure.
No, this is a failure. Goodbye, money.
Do you want to? You can use a ship if you like, but
No,
it's up
not
to you.
for that.
Okay, so
Not for
let's
that.
see what happens. Whoops. You realize that you cannot win the round and must watch as your wager vanishes into somebody else's pocket. Deduct a silver thaler from your character sheet. Since you won 1, you basically are now even. If you have at least 1 silver thaler left, which you should, you can play 1 more game, or if you have no more money or you don't wish to play Svelte Valley Dice Ball Turn anymore, you can go and say goodnight.
She will stand up. Just say thank you for a nice evening, good luck everyone, and we'll leave.
Okay, so at the moment, you can you see that everyone is, you know, absorbed in discussions. Even the two guards, your friends Ulrich and his friend, are deep in conversation. So you decide to sit down and have something else to drink, because it's very, very unpleasant outside. As you sit there, suddenly you hear a voice by your shoulder saying, "Is this seat taken?" And you can see a large figure of a man, broad shoulders, full beard, no hair, bushy eyebrows, wearing a dark robe, not a wizard's robe, but a dark robe with golden embroidery and a large golden chain around his neck. And he's got 2 beers in his hands. "May I sit down?"
She will skeptically look up and down, but in the same moment she's like, oh, that's a lot of gold he's presenting to us, so let's see what I can get out of this. And she will just like, feel free.
"Thank you very much." And he puts the tankard down in front of you and says, "I hope you like beer. Oh, and forgive me. My name is Rogobald von Garlischgrotz. I'm an independent trader and I specialize in wares from the south." And he bows slightly.
She will just nod, take the beer, just like nodding to him. Thank you. Yes, sure. I'm Meg. Welcome to the city, then.
Thank you. My father always said that the gods give something to everybody. It's not an art to have worth, but it is an art to recognize worth. And I recognize your worth very easily. I'm sure you have qualities that would be of great use to me. And he takes a long swig.
Use to you.
Yes, I am, and he looks around. I'm in something of a predicament, and I believe you can certainly free me from it, and in return you will be rewarded.
With what?
Ah. I suppose that you like coins?
Sure.
Gold coins?
Who doesn't?
All right. So there will be gold coins. Coins that you can use to buy your way out of here. Leave Havena, leave the slums, go somewhere else. Go to Garit, maybe. Are you interested?
What do you need to be done?
Okay. And he comes a little bit closer, so he leans across so not everybody can hear you and him. "A precious cargo that's mine by rights is lying around somewhere in a warehouse, but it can be retrieved or sold only by the person with the freight documents. If you own the documents, you own the cargo. You understand?"
Mm-hmm.
"I bought the cargo and I had the papers. But the freight documents were stolen. A bold yet successful event, unfortunately. An employee of a rival threatened me with a dagger in the open street and ran away with the papers."
You have a name?
"Yes, I do. But I can't go to the guards because, you know, it's a little bit delicate because the man who commissioned this little escapade has been a long time rival of mine, and we have had our differences, sometimes quite open differences, in the guild house over the years. And so, if I were to imply him in this theft, people wouldn't believe me, because they would not believe that a man of his standing would stoop so low as to steal papers from me just to get my cargo. Also because he could easily buy it from me if he wanted to. He is very rich, and he plays with his gold chain. So I need to solve this problem slightly differently. I need someone to go into this person's contour, find the papers, and bring them back to me. Is that something that you would be willing to consider for the right price?
She would just look especially at her god friends to make sure they are not listening to what
They're
we are
not. They're
talking
actually
about.
they're so deep in their cups at this stage.
She will take a deep sip of the beer, put down the mug, probably glass, and I guess so. The papers are lying openly somewhere around. Are they locked away? You probably don't know.
Well, I know the house that they're in.
That would be good. If not, it would be hard to find out where, because there are a lot of salesmen around here.
That is true. So, I could show you.
Sounds like a plan. I guess it's urgent and can't wait.
Yes, it is quite urgent. Let me explain the lay of the land to you. It's quite a tall building, and it is one of the ones that has a pulley crane outside so that larger items can be lifted into the warehouse. And it has 4 floors. And it has double doors facing both the street and the channel, and pulleys for moving wares into the 2nd floor of the building through wooden hatches, but they are closed at night. I don't think you can reach the pulleys. They are way too high. But even if you could reach them, I would not suggest entering through the upper floor, because the fog is now covering the 2nd floor, and it would hide you, but if it lifts for you just a brief moment, you would be left hanging, so to speak, invisible to all. Plus, we don't know how well the hatches have been secured. The door on the front is no doubt locked, but maybe you can use this. And he hands you a small iron lockpick, which you can write down on your paper, or you can remember that you've got it. The entrance facing the canal may be less secured, if at all, but to get there you must sneak through the alley and climb back along its facade just above the water line. It's risky, but it could get you inside. I'm going to give you 40 golden ducats.
She will just whistle while she has a closer look just at the lockpick, although quiet to also again that the guards are not seeing what she's doing. She will put the lockpick away. That sounds like a really important.
If he behaves like everyone else in the trade, then he will probably use the 3rd floor of the 4-story building as an office. And accommodations for any workers who sleep in the contour. Downstairs on the 1st floor, or the ground floor rather, is the warehouse itself. And the 2nd floor has smaller storage rooms for precious cargo, hence the pulleys. If I were to store items of great value, I would store them on the 3rd floor, but I would secure them. So probably he's got a safe or something.
If not, he would be quite stupid to keep just stuff lying around, so Quite true, quite true.
So he then takes out a little map of the canal area, and he points to where the warehouse is.
Mm-hmm.
And he points out where the main doors are, and then he points out where the side gate is that's facing the canal. So, and he draws 2 X's to indicate the doors, and then he says, well, now it's up to you. You can either take the one that's facing the canal or facing the street.
I'll have a snoop around the place first of all and see how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
When I get what you look for, where should we meet?
That's a very good question. I knew you were the right person to ask. You are so very clever, are you not? And he gives you an address, which you know is actually outside of the Efford Temple. It's a huge, huge plaza. So essentially, if somebody were to meet you there, it's in broad daylight, full public place, and not very secret, but also because of that, quite safe.
And it's not that we're exchanging like a big chest or something really visible, it's documents. Nope. Okay, that's maybe not the worst place to meet.
No.
By accident, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. By accident.
Okay. Then I guess we meet again.
And it's a matter of urgency, and he drops 8 gold coins in your lap and says, and the drinks are on me.
Thank
the rest
you.
when I have my stuff.
Very kindly.
So do you want to do this tonight, or do you want to wait?
How late is it?
It's around about 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And it's
Then-
quite thick fog, so it's you know, if you step outside now, you will be practically invisible.
She would do it immediately, because with the fog it's the best way to go, and it's still early enough to get a job done, so she will just finish the beer. Not spoiling a thing like that. We'll give him a wink and we'll leave.
It's actually very good beer. It's fair docker, so that's quite expensive, and it travels well. So this is a picture of the actual warehouse. So it's got 4 stories, and you can see the pulley hanging down there, and that's what you see when you go there. And this is the main doors, the double doors, and if you were to basically go to the left, and then around the building, you would get to the side gate.
So she would pass the front, still would take a look, would try to see if someone's standing up front, if there are any lights. I know it's foggy, so I'm not sure how much she would see, but that would be her goal, just to get a feeling on, are there still a lot of people awake and in the building, or does it look quiet?
It looks very quiet.
Good.
And if there is light, then you can't see it. It could be that maybe towards the back of the house there are rooms on the top floors that you can't see from the front, but where you are, you can't see any lights.
Then she would sneak around the back to check out the back door, because that would also be, in her mind, a good way to enter usually the house.
It is almost completely dark, so you have to wait a little bit for your eyes to adjust. And it's a very narrow alley, maybe 6 feet wide. Yeah, you can approach it and see what happens.
Trying to be careful, not making too many noises, although in the fog it usually takes a bit of the noise, and just being careful. Always listening if she can hear anything nearby the building, or especially from the building itself.
Then make a perception check.
Let's see. Perception. There's perception. Oh, that's the tight one. That is okay. Okay. Good. Thankfully, I'm rolling stuff she can do, and she's not too bad in. And intelligence, double intelligence. Yeah, easily. She has 6 points left, so even quality level 2.
Okay. Super. So, you are successful, and you make it to the door. And funnily enough, he was right. Not only is it not secured, it is open. Do you go inside?
That's honestly still quite suspicious for her that it's really open. She wouldn't have thought of maybe there being... Although, how many people would approach from the canals? She would carefully open the door. Just a little bit. To have a look inside to see, A, is there light? B, is there a person? Because at least inside there shouldn't be any fog, so she can see again. And she would be crouched down really low, so in case someone is in there, that she can try to get out quickly. So, peeking in, listening.
You hear nothing. Seems all very, very quiet.
Then she would carefully step inside and close the door. As quiet as possible.
Okay.
And then she would tiptoe, moving on.
Okay.
To trying to find a way to get upstairs.
So basically, as you enter, you see a large room, which is pretty much the size of the footprint of the building, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And there is an exit. It's the tall double door that you know because it's outside as well and you saw it. And you can see that high up on the ceiling there are 2 oil lamps, but they are very, very faint because, you know, it's a huge room and a huge space, and there are 2 tiny oil lamps. There is a smaller room in the northeastern corner of the warehouse, which you can take a look at. There are also some crates and sacks that you could look into. Or you can go to the southern part of the building, which you cannot really see because it's so large that the light doesn't reach there. Or you could leave again.
She would be tempted to look and snoop around, but she thinks of the big batch of money that is on the table for this, so she'll focus, just like talk to herself, no, we have to focus on this. And she would go to the southern part and see if she can find ladder stairs or anything that she can basically climb to get up.
Make an intuition check, please.
That is 13. She barely makes it.
Excellent. You can smell fish.
Great.
And you can also see a set of stairs going up.
That is good. She would carefully approach the stairs and look up and listen up if there's light or if she can hear anyone moving around on the second floor. You said the second floor probably were like smaller storage rooms, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for more precious stuff. Yeah, okay, so you can't hear anything, and you look at the the staircase, and you can see that it's made of really solid wood, and probably people have used it for a very long time. You can see it's kind of a little bit almost, yeah, worn out and worn down by people carrying heavy loads up and down. But you assume that if you were to climb them, it wouldn't be without noise. So there's probably going to be some creaking. What do you want to do? Do you want to stay, or do you want to climb up?
She will try to climb up and be as quiet and careful as possible.
Okay. So
she would probably be quite, in the beginning, be quite slow, just do one step, and with the first creak, just kind of waiting, listening, and then moving on.
Okay. They do creak, as you had expected, but you know, they don't move or anything, so you make your way up safely. And now you are in an L-shaped corridor. And again, there are some candles here that are almost burnt down. So now you have various areas in which you can go. You can either search the actual corridor, or you can go to your left into a room, or you can go in the L-shaped corridor, and then there are two rooms as well. So it depends on what you would like to do. Do you want to check out the rooms, and if so, which ones?
I think for each room she would just basically, I guess the doors are still closed on the rooms. She would just listen. She wouldn't like go into the rooms and snoop around. She would just listen on each room just to make sure that there's no one in there.
Okay.
So if she moves on, that no one's coming from behind, basically.
Okay, yeah.
Starting with the first room.
Okay, starting with the first room. So, that would be the one in the northwest. The door is actually a little bit open, but you can't hear anything, and there is no light shining in there.
I think she would rummage around in her pocket and would just pull out like a tiny pebble or something not worth anything, but something that would make a noise, and she would just carefully like throw it into the room just to see if anyone reacts to it.
Okay. That's interesting.
It's not in your book, I'm quite sure, but hey!
No, it's not, but I didn't even know what happens when you do that. But actually, you suddenly hear the squawking of birds. And you can tell what birds these are. There must be a chicken coop in there. Crates with chickens.
Boy. Okay.
And they wake up from the noise and they cluck really loudly and they flap their wings.
She will freeze and just move on, probably already to the next door, trying to listen if she can hear anyone upstairs moving or from downstairs moving, because sometimes if the animals get stirred up, people would check, maybe.
Yeah, so you're kind of like, you are lucky if there are people there, then they're probably just running to the hen house, but next time you hopefully don't walk into a dog kennel. Okay, so then the next one would be 55. There is another door. It's closed.
She would first just put her ear against the door and see if she can hear anything behind it that sounds alive.
It's very quiet, you can't hear anything.
Then she will just move on to the next one. The goal is still to get, honestly, as quickly in and out, but without being too rushed.
Okay.
So next door. Yeah, walking to the next door.
Okay. So, this door seems to not have been used in a very long time. There is a thick layer of dust on the doorknob, and there's a very old spider's web stretched across the doorframe. You open it after you listen.
She's curious, but at the same time she would be like, oh god, if I open the door someone might recognize that someone was here, because it doesn't look that someone touched the door.
Okay.
She would be like, her hand hovering on like the doorknob, and she would be like, no, focus, focus. And she would turn around, deep breath, and move on.
Okay, so you don't go inside.
No, she's probably to herself, maybe for another day.
Okay. Okay, so 168. Okay. Then we have 18. You take the one in the southeast. Oh my god, 16. Okay. Again, do you open the door?
She would listen again.
There is nothing.
She would carefully open the door and would try the same thing with the pebble as with the first room.
Okay. You throw in a pebble?
Would she peek in? No, I think she would be brave enough now. She hasn't met any person and heard any person so far, so she will carefully open the door to the bit that she can basically peek in what is in the room, if she can even see anything, if it's not too dark.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can actually see something because there is some light falling in from the outside, and it looks like you found the broom closet. But not only have you found the broom closet, there's also a set of stairs leading to the upper floor. You can either take that or you can look around.
She would step in, carefully close the door of the room.
Yes.
And she would have a look around in the room.
Okay.
Would there be any spaces? She would be not looking for any valuable stuff because it's a broom closet, but for places where she could hide in case someone would show up. Like
basically you find wooden buckets and cloths that you would use and brooms, of course, to clean. But they are very high quality, you notice. But for some reason you decide not to steal them. However, there's also a painting along the wall.
How big?
And it is a majestic manticore, a legendary chimerical beast. And its tail has, of course, the normal stinger of a scorpion, like manticores do. And behind the manticore you see numerous eyes that glow in the dark windows of a two-story house. Giant, bilious green serpents wind through the doors. Unnerving birds sit on the roof in the full light of Marda's sign, which hangs alone in the starless sky. Please make a willpower check.
Oh boy. Willpower. Where do we have? There's willpower. Okay. She has good stats. Oh my boy. Willpower is courage, I guess. That is definitely, because it was a 1, that is good. Then we have int, that is barely made it. And charisma, which she did not make, but I have points. Let me see. Made it with quality level 1.
Okay. It is a very vivid painting, and you are on edge anyway. You have just run into chickens, you're trying to hide from people. There's a vampire somewhere about in the city, and it is such a well-made picture that it really creeps you out. But you're professional enough to kind of put this by the wayside and kind of go, I really know why they put up this picture in a broom closet, because nobody in their right minds would like to look at this.
Yep.
Ever. So what do you want to do? Do you want to go upstairs or do you want to go back? Okay.
No, she would
Okay.
carefully tiptoe upstairs.
Okay. The second floor corridor is empty, but you can hear that the rooms are filled with life. You hear muffled voices and see weak light coming through all the doors but one on the northeast side. You must remember to be very careful.
Mm-hmm.
There are 6 doors that you can take. So, one in the northwest, one in the west, one southwest, one northeast. So basically, you get the idea. So you can just say we can take. I can number them 1 through 6, and then you just tell me which ones you want to take. Or you can also go down the stairs, or up another flight of stairs.
You said on the 3rd floor is the office, but also where the employees and so on will be staying.
And just so that you know, you have 5 tries. You don't have endless time.
Mm-hmm. This kind of looks like because it was like a hidden staircase. It's not the official way up, which more looks like a servant way up, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Although, no, I think she would tiptoe back down again, because she can't imagine a high money, wealthy guy running through this room to get to his office all the time. There must be another way that is more nice.
Well, I mean, you are now basically standing. You basically, I mean, it's not really well described. So you just basically are now standing in the main hallway of the 2nd floor.
2nd or 3rd? 3rd floor.
Sorry. Yeah. Third
Okay.
floor.
She will just and I hear people.
Yes, from all but one room.
That
It
would be
actually doesn't tell me which room it is that you don't hear stuff from, so that's a bit tricky. But
that is a bit tricky. But she would look for the one room where she's not here, where there are no sounds, because clearly she doesn't want to meet like, hey, employees, nice to meet you.
you
So
don't.
she would start with. Let's just go with room 1, but she would listen. She would not just like open the door, she would just listen and see if she hears anything behind door number 1.
Well, that is actually the one that is quiet and dark, and the door is slightly ajar. You can give me a perception check if you like.
Yeah.
-2.
Yeah, she would definitely do perception. Could I have these rolls tomorrow as well, please, for our other game? That would be really nice. Made int. Yeah, perception. I think that's still quality level. Oh no, quality level 3.
Oh wow! Okay. You are pretty sure that what you're smelling is detergent and soap, and you can also smell the sea. You are absolutely sure that this is the door to the latrine.
Okay, that's definitely not where we will find anything that she's looking for, so she will
Okay, so you go
move
back.
back.
So that's trial number 1. So then you have 2, 3, 4, 5 doors left.
She will go for the next door, or how's the corridor? Is it just a long corridor with rooms across?
Yeah.
She would go to definitely the next room, but across on the other side. So not the same room on the same line, but on the other side, just like going over and same thing, listening.
Okay. Now this room is weird because what you hear is a child singing.
Great.
And there's also light shining from underneath the door. You can do different things if we were to follow this. You can either charge into the room, or you can peek through the keyhole first, or you could ignore it and just go back.
She would be curious. She would peek through the keyhole.
Okay.
She would definitely not charge in, but a child and singing, she would be curious.
Okay. What you see is a room that's lit by a couple of candles, and it's got a bed in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see a shelf that holds countless puppets. So, hand puppets.
Mm-hmm.
And puppets on strings. And you can see a girl that's sitting in front of the bed with her back turned to you. And she's playing with a wooden horse. You also notice that she's wearing an iron collar around her neck. And it's as thick as her forearm and reminds you of a collar on a chained dog.
That's so mean.
You could give me a roll on Magiekunde, whatever that is in English. Let me just check your character for a second.
If not, say the German, I can double check if I can find it.
Yeah, this is the thing, because here we are. It's not even there. What? Magiekunde isn't even there. There is nothing there that's like it. Warfare, sphere lore, religions, myths and legends, mechanics, astronomy, gambling.
Nothing with magic in there.
No, that's really strange. So, then give me a roll on religions.
Okay. Oh, that's a nice roll. Oh, wait. Religion, SG. Barely made it, but hey. Definitely made it, and yeah, made it.
Okay, you have heard of this before, although you've never seen it. She is wearing what people call Praios necklace.
Mm-hmm.
In Havena, unlike other places in Aventura, magic is outlawed.
Mm-hmm.
And for a very long time, children that displayed magical abilities were drowned, killed by their parents, and, you know, considered pariahs. And one way of suppressing magic ability is to encase the magic user in metal, because metal drains or suppresses the astral energy. Hence, mages, for example, don't wear chain armor, or usually don't even have chain weapons, because or have metal weapons, because the more metal they're in touch with or in contact with, the less able they are to perform. And if you put an iron collar around someone, that is a sure way of making it almost impossible for them to cast spells. But this is now outlawed. This is frowned upon. You don't usually do it, so even Havena has come round to accepting that there are people who are different from other people and that doesn't make them necessarily bad. Just different.
She... Again, we'll take a deep breath. Focus, but I'm quite sure this will haunt her for a while. Not sure what will happen if she finds the papers. If she's trying to go back, we will decide later on. That is something she's fighting on. But first is I need to find the papers. Mm-hmm. And she will carefully step back and
okay,
move on to the next room. Mm-hmm. The room behind her room. So staying on the same side, moving to the one behind her.
Now this door, even from the outside, looks different than the other ones. It's of a lot finer make. The wood is darker and it's been polished to a sheen, so it basically reflects the light of the lanterns that are visible. And it seems to be a door with an attitude. This is an important door. It clearly states to you, I'm important.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, if your assignment had been to steal the most expensive door in the house, you would have taken this one.
Too heavy to carry, but she will have listen in again, and if it has a keyhole, she would also peek through the keyhole.
Yeah. You peek through the door. You peek through the keyhole. You're not opening the door, you're peeking through the keyhole. And it's dark inside. But there is a flickering candle that casts light from somewhere beyond your field of vision. You see a large wooden wardrobe, a heavy armchair, and a wooden shelf. A bear rug lies on the floor. You cannot tell if anybody is inside the room, but if you were spotted, somebody could be in there planning to ambush you. You take a moment to plan your next action. Do you enter the room or turn away?
The question is, would that describe an office or not?
Well, to be quite honest, there wasn't a bureau or any form of desk. It's a wardrobe and a heavy chair and a wooden shelf.
Yeah, that sounds more like maybe a bedroom.
Possibly, although you can't see a bed, but yeah, yeah.
I think she would just like a maybe, but not sure, but still would look at the door and would be like, not sure, and she would go across to the next room she hasn't done yet.
Okay. So that would be number 140. Warm candlelight streams through a finger-wide gap beneath the door. You hear sounds coming from inside. Do you want to sneak inside quickly, peek through the keyhole, or look somewhere else?
Peek through the keyhole.
Inside you see a small table with countless candles, 2 chairs with high backrests, a straw-covered bed, and a small window covered by wooden shutters, but all of your attention is focused on a red-haired woman who stands with her back to you. You're not sure, but something about her seems familiar. You take a closer look. Her trousers are tailored to emphasize her legs, and she's currently removing a somewhat expensive-looking blouse. As you watch, it slides from her shoulder and drops to the bed, revealing an elaborate tattoo that extends across her back and down both shoulders. You know you have seen something like this before, but where? A scratching sound brings you back to the present. You have broken into a stranger's house, and peering through doors at people in bedrooms is not a good idea. Do you stay where you are, or do you enter the room, or do you keep daydreaming?
She will definitely not enter the room.
Mm-hmm.
She would hectically look around. Probably head for the next door she hasn't touched yet. Still trying to be really silent, but I hear scraping noise, you said.
Yeah. As you are looking around, it suddenly comes to you. You've seen this woman before. She's the Torval woman you saw earlier that evening
Yeah.
in the tavern. And suddenly you hear a voice behind you. Have you seen enough? A mocking voice asks from somewhere above you. You have been spotted. That explains the scratching sound. You can't think of anything witty to say in response to the rhetorical question. Suddenly you feel a sharp pain at the back of your head and you black out.
Great.
Okay, you have a massive headache.
Yes, I do.
This is the third time you've tried to break into houses, and this is the third time you've failed. But tonight is a new low point in your career as a burglar. And you make a decision. Houses just don't suit you.
No.
You're a child of the street, a vagabond, a rogue. In the streets, you are nobody's fool. But when you try to move around in someone else's house... And you notice that there's a man as you open your eyes and they focus, and he's pacing around. And he looks at you, he looks you up and down, and quite disparagingly so. You'd say he's at least 60. And he's got grey hair, but he's already balding, and his beard is trimmed. And he's got a very strong chin.
Am I, like, bound, or am I just lying?
Yes. Kind of. Do you kind of strain at your bonds?
Yeah, she would just try and see. And have a look around before she would react to him.
Okay. You can see that there's also you can also see the red-headed woman. She's leaning casually against the door, and he's also talking to someone that you can't see at the moment, and he says, "It's not safe anymore here. Not now. Mona and I are leaving." And suddenly somebody walks into because you've still got quite a narrow field of vision because of your headache. So suddenly you see somebody walk into your field of vision, and he looks like a servant, and he says, "But Master Takrama, are you sure it's not safer in here? Should we really leave?" And the trader, because that's obviously the man this contour belongs to, he's really at a loss. You can tell from his face that he doesn't know what to do, where to go, and he's scratching his head, and he goes, "Maybe you're right. Maybe we should." And at that moment, utter chaos breaks out. A rock crashes through one of the cozy study's precious glass windows, and glittering shards of glass rain down. A second stone wrapped in burning cloth breaks through a different window. It misses everyone by a wide margin, but flames catch and start to spread across the floor, posing a greater danger, not just to the countless documents in the study, but to the whole contour. And you can see the Torval woman is trying to stomp out the fire. And the trader starts roaring commands. "You," he yells, pointing at one servant, "get Mona from her room and I will take her to my city villa." And he points at another man and yells, "You, guard our guest. When you've extinguished the fire, watch for further attacks and cover our retreat." And then he runs out, and as he runs out, he turns around one more time and says, "And protect the contour," and he runs away. So now you are alone with the red-head woman who is busy putting out the last flames, and one more servant. So what you could do is you could try and make a run for it. You can either run down the stairs, but that's going to be really tricky because you have to you have to get past two people, or you could try and get out of the window. It's high above the ground, not without risk, but it's probably the only exit that would work.
You better be if I try a different thing.
You could also just wait for them to stomp out the fire and then take care of you, because I'm pretty sure that this lady from Torval has a couple of words to say to you.
How big is the fire? Does it look feasible for them to get it out?
Yeah, you would say so, yes.
Okay. I'm on the 3rd floor. I
You don't know which
suspect.
floor you're on because you have no idea where they put you.
Jumping out of the 3rd floor sounds like suicide. In case I'm up here. Which I suspect, to be honest. Except it depends on which side, right? One was facing the canal and one was facing... But I'm bound.
Well, actually, not very well.
Okay.
If you were to basically just strain a little at your bonds, they would break, and nobody's paying any attention to you.
But she needs to get the papers. Boy. She would definitely try to get rid of being bound and would stand up.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's see if they notice. They do.
Okay.
They both round on you and move towards you. And she's pulling out a saber. You, by the way, don't have a weapon at the moment. What do? You're standing with your back to the window and she's coming towards you and she doesn't seem terribly interested in keeping you alive.
You said the stone and that went through the window, so it's already broken.
Yeah.
She would turn around and look outside just to see, is it the street or is it a canal sign?
What you see is actually, you see the pulley. You're at the front of the contour.
Oh.
On the first floor.
Then she would jump, definitely. She would jump and would see if she can grab, like, if it's the pulley, just to use the rope where they drag stuff up and down to get down.
Okay. You jump, so give me a body control check, please.
Oh, agility is high. That's good. That's good. That's good. Because I rolled a 15 and a 14, and yep, she makes it with... Oh, she has a +7.
Oh, wow.
So with quality level 3.
Okay, she rolled a 17, a 1, and a 20 trying to grab you. She doesn't. You lunge at the pulley, and you grab it, and you hold on to it, and you swing from side to side, and then you notice how the pulley is starting to move towards the ground, but it's a controlled movement, so it's not fast. It's actually at a nice pace, so it'll lower you probably about 3 feet off the ground.
And then as soon as she thinks, hey, it's safe enough to jump and roll, because she knows how to jump, fall, and roll, she would let go and jump.
Okay. You manage to do this. You do one of those, ninja rolls, and you're crouched, and you look around, and you hear, down there on the street! And you look over your shoulder, and you can see the woman standing at the window, with her saber basically pointing at you, and she says, run downstairs, get her! And yeah, as you run away, you are suddenly punched very hard in the ribs, but whoever punched you actually then stumbles into a pile of fish, and you manage to run away.
Okay.
And now we're back in the present. So basically this is how this whole pursuit that we had at the beginning actually started. You were running away from them.
She would be quietly cursing while she runs, like this was a stupid idea anyhow to get this job, and now I have to give back the money, and I lost my saber, and but she will do the things we already experienced in the beginning.
You wake up with a start, and you're sitting on the pavement next to a large puddle and a pile of crates, half a dozen baskets, and the person you run into. The man turns around, looks at you, and in surprise reaches out with his hand. It's the person who hired you in the first place. It's you?
That's the question now I have to you. Why did you hit me?
I didn't hit you. You ran into me. What were you running from?
Well, you gave me a quite weird job, sir. First of all, she will rummage through her pockets, hoping the money is still there.
The money that he gave you, yeah.
Yeah. We'll just pull out the money and the lockpick if it's still there.
Yeah.
And would just hand it out to him. Take it back, because I'm not setting a foot in this house again.
Why?
Well, A, they caught me. B, people attacked the house. They tried to set it on fire. There's a weird magical girl in there, and weird paintings. And no. Thank you very kindly. I'm really sorry. You have to do this on your own. But just, I think the guy running this place is leaving anyhow. So maybe it will be easier, or it takes... I'm not sure.
Okay, this story needs a third option, because what you're trying to propose isn't supposed to happen. Okay. He looks at you and he says, oh, so you didn't find the papers?
I didn't have time to find the papers because I was caught.
You hear an alley cat somewhere?
An alley cat. Nice distraction.
You say somebody attacked the house?
Yeah, you know the strong lady that was sitting close to us when we met? She was there. You could have told me she was working for him.
Well, I didn't know. But, he's got another warehouse in the old seaport. Maybe the freight papers are there. Would you like to try that? And you can keep the money.
No, thank you.
In the interest of the story, you should say.
Why should I try to risk my life again? This is like...
Well, it basically points out that you are kind of like... you totally believe that the papers are worth stealing.
But you're not very well prepared, sir. If you just sent me to one place without telling me there might be a second place, and maybe there's a third place if it's not there again. Well, we can give it a... She's looking at the money that she still has in her hand, because I guess he didn't take it.
As you tell him the story, you suddenly notice that he starts laughing. And he laughs so hard that he starts crying. And
she is so very tempted to punch him in the face for that.
And he says, I am so sorry that you feel bad because of my little trick, but you performed quite well. Beautifully, in fact. I thank you, and I'm glad to finally be able to tell the truth to someone clever. You have performed your role in my plan perfectly, my friend. I can assure you, I will fool you no longer, but before I give you the truth, you must promise to not tell anyone. The man waits for you to nod. Do you nod?
She will stare at him for like a very long minute to just keep him dangling. And we'll look at the coin in between. And then we'll just nod.
For years there have been rumors that the trading house of Takrama, and especially its head Vigur, was taking part in evil deeds. People say Takrama deals with intoxicating herbs from the south, contraband that was forbidden during the war against the North Marches, and even lethal poisons. The cargo I've been talking about does exist, but it's not mine, and I'm not interested in the freight documents to claim the cargo. Rather, I wish to put a stop to these criminals. I'm not really a merchant, as I claim to be. I work for the city guard, which recruited me because I would not be recognized as one of their own. And it's true, he doesn't look anything like a city guard. I told you a fairy tale so you could distract the Takramas for me, and maybe even find the evidence needed to arrest them. While you searched the upper floor, I searched the ground floor. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anything, and then you were captured. But I could have let the guard collect you and then free you myself later, but I needed to create a distraction. Now that we have met again, it is even more important to secure the documents as proof before they can destroy them. Old Vigo is a cunning and careful man. Without that evidence, we cannot press charges against him and his criminal gang. You will not allow them to get away with their crimes, will you?
She will now, with big eyes, just like, you working with the City Watch?
Yes, of course. Did you not notice the two of them sitting there?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Did they give you the tip I would be a good idea to ask?
Well, they did say you would be useful because apparently you've broken into 2 more houses already, and each time you botched them, the burglaries.
It's complicated. She would by now stand up, just like clean herself a bit. And would stand up quite straight and proud. It's complicated, but kind of.
So,
the payment stays the same?
Of course it does. And now you can even add to your credentials that you're working and helping the city guards, and you're working for them. That will stand you in good stead should you ever botch another burglary later.
It will not help me with other jobs because the people will be paranoid about me, but it's good money.
Needs to know. It's just important that the city guard know the next time they pick you up. Go on, you know you want to. Oh, and by the way, you lost this, and he gives you back your saber.
Okay. Thank you kindly. She will just put it back on her belt, and will, I don't know, probably pull out, I want to say Kleenex. That is very modern, but you get my hint.
You've got a handkerchief, yes.
Handkerchief, thank you very much. And just to bind it around her hand that is still like bloody and rough.
Mm-hmm.
And then would look at him. Okay, where's the warehouse? And what exactly are we looking for?
Well, friend, we must make a decision and act quickly since the criminals have been warned. I will inform the city guard while you search that warehouse. It's in Saltarell Alley, first building on the right at the quay wall. You can hardly miss the place as the name Takrama is written above the side door.
Okay.
Take a look around there, friend, and I will follow soon.
Anything exactly you want me to find? Or just anything around?
Anything. If you can find some of the actual contraband, that would be brilliant. Or if you could find some kind of paperwork, whatever you can find will be helpful.
And you said it's herbs and stuff like that?
And poisons.
Okay. Same question as before. Same meeting place, other meeting place?
I will come and find you. We will meet there, at the house.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess she would know at least the area where she has to go.
You have no
And
trouble finding Saltarell Alley, even though you rarely visit the western side of the harbour district. The small buildings in this neighbourhood, a large fishing village nestled within Havena, are shabbier than the grand, multi-storied homes on the eastern side of the harbour district. Certainly its inhabitants, mostly fishing families and day labourers, are far less wealthy. That's why you rarely come here. There is more promising loot to be had in other parts of town. This is said to be a close-knit community. Few people are out at this hour, and the fog is probably hiding your movements anyway, but you still feel that eyes are watching you from every house you pass. The Takrammer warehouse is easy to find. It sits at the end of the alley, and the name Takrammer is freshly painted in white above the door. The warehouse is not quite square, a 30-foot by 30-foot building with a slightly sloping roof and a wide locked gate on the east side facing the quay. You are sure that the building has seen better days. Weeds grow in thick clumps between the cobblestones in front of the gate. The stone building's plaster is crumbling in many places, and you are able to peer inside through a hole made by 3 missing bricks in the north wall, next to the narrow wooden door. Inside you see nothing but countless crates and boxes. The door hangs ajar and creaks in the strong breeze. Entering this building will be child's play. Do you walk in, or do you want to wait?
she would walk in.
Okay. The open door is almost insulting. A 7-year-old could break into this warehouse. Next to the entrance you find a full oil lantern standing on a table, along with flint and tinder, almost as if someone placed it here for you. You make a spark and light the lamp quickly, close the lantern and adjust the lens to illuminate a narrow area in front of you. This burglary is proving less than interesting. Your first 3 attempts at burglary failed horribly, you know, but despite that, or perhaps because of it, you feel cheated. Even if you find the papers here, this stroll will hardly qualify as a successful burglary. You raise the lamp and reconsider. Things might be a little bit more complicated. Surrounding you are hundreds of boxes, some of them piled up in absurdly high towers. It cannot be easy to find documents when you have only a rough idea of what they contain. You sigh as you grab the first box and start to open it, but you do not get very far. A horrible, high-pitched voice makes you jump. "Don't you dare, you clumsy goblin! Get away! This is my home!" What do you do?
She would look around and would just yell back, "I'm sent here to get a few things for Mr. Takrama."
"What do you mean, a few things?" And as you look around, you see a tiny man sitting on a pile of boxes and shaking his fists at you. The creature looks like an old man with a too large head in a too large 3-cornered hat. But despite his wrinkly skin and crooked back, his body seems to be that of a child of 6. His skin shimmers in disconcerting pastel hues of green and blue, and he wears red and white striped pants and a dark brown oil coat. Do you want to calm him, or do you become angry? He is shouting the house down.
She would try to calm him and try to get him to listen to her, and I can't tell you what. The master clearly stated it's a quite secret job and it needs to be quickly done.
Who is that master that you're talking about, and why have you come to my house? This is my home. What are you doing here anyway?
Are these your crates? Mr. Takrama said it's all his.
What do you mean? First of all, who are you anyway?
I am Meg. Nice
Oh,
to
right.
meet you. I'm really sorry. I didn't know someone was living here. I just thought this was a place to store stuff.
What do you mean this is a place to store stuff? This is where I live. I am a Klabauter man. My name is, well, actually, you can just call me Klabauter. First name Klabauter, last name Mann.
Okay, Klabauter. That means nobody has been here for quite a long time, I guess.
Define a long time?
Last 2, 3, 4 weeks?
actually is trying to talk to you about ships. I just have to find this information. And blah, blah, blah. I think this is only something that works in English because probably most people in English don't know what a Klabautermann is. But of course you do, coming from Hamburg, so you don't need to find out about what they do.
But she's trying to just handle him like a normal person.
Well, you see, I have this, it could be that somebody was here or wasn't here. I've just come back from abroad, we live on ships, but I've got this affliction. Whenever I'm on a ship, I get seasick.
Oh, that sounds horrible. I would
My whole family has disowned me.
Give you a handkerchief, but it's sadly already dirtied up. I don't want to give you that messy one. She would just show the hand where it's still wrapped around. I don't want to cause any trouble for you. I will also not tell anyone that you're here, although I maybe have to warn you. It might be that the City Watch will come here in the next hours.
Why would they come?
They are looking for something around here. Not for you. No one knows you're here. And I won't tell. The guy I was talking about, he is storing stuff the City Watch is a bit interested in. They will just go through, you can hide, and then you have the place for yourself again.
But why would they come here?
He seems to store stuff here. I don't know.
Have you looked around? And he jumps up and he climbs one of those mountains of crates. Like it's a really tall building. So he's like, I don't know, maybe 10, easily 15 feet up. And he starts kicking the crates. I mean, he is small, but he seems to be quite strong. And so the first crate starts tumbling down, and then it causes this avalanche of crates to fall down.
She
and
would just jump back and just like, wait, don't destroy the stuff.
No, I'm not destroying anything. And he jumps down again. He's obviously completely forgotten his affliction because now he's all business. He's like, well, look at this. And he opens the first one and he opens another, and he's really fast. So he opens like 15 crates in the matter of seconds. And he's like, it's all empty. Nobody comes here. Now I know that nobody comes here. I should have known this earlier. Nobody comes here, and nobody's been here in a very long time. Really, do you think that people would come here to conspire? Well, probably they would, because it's quite lonely, but nobody's been here.
On not so legal stuff, you think they're all empty? Because some of them should have like herbs and maybe like potion stuff.
Well, I may get seasick, and I'm not the best Klabautermann to have around if you have a ship, because I tend to puke all over it, but I do remember everything that people store, and nobody has touched these crates since I last shipped out and came back, so no.
So weird. Is there like another building attached to, or does the back go to the canals as well?
No, I've lived here for 20 years, like on and off, when I'm not chipping out and, then get thrown overboard, and then swim back, and that's just on a good day, but, it's...
That sounds like a really fun life, I have to say, to see a bit, but then having a place to come back to, which is really, really good.
Well, I'm the only one in my family who basically has a house.
And it's a big house, really impressive.
Yes, and have you seen my crates?
Yeah, they are sadly empty. But
seriously, you said, has anybody come by recently? The only person that came by was a guy who wrote something on the door outside. That was yesterday.
That's why it looked so fresh. Maybe he just bought the building? Though that would mean for you that people will come here in the future. I hope not.
Well, I was wondering, because he was very well clothed. He was wearing a dark coat and like a huge gold chain and gold emblems, and So I was wondering.
He wrote it on the door?
Yes, he has no hair. Look at my hair. And he takes off his hat, and you can see that he's got this greenish, bluish kind of hair, and it's all over the place. So he's got very good hair.
It's a really nice color. Really nice color.
I'm quite fond of it myself.
I know my copper hairs also, some find it, but yours is really... Just to come back to the guy, because it sounds like the guy who sent me here.
Well,
he wrote it. This is... Why is he playing tricks? I should just take the money and leave.
Money?
He gave me money to go in here and find the stuff he described to me. And he lied to me the second time, because I already entered one building for him, and he lied to me, which is not good.
You are not very intelligent, are you?
Rather say I need money? Desperate is maybe more the word. Like money is necessary to survive. Just if you see the guy again, be careful and stay out of his place.
Be very quiet. I can hear something. And before you can say anything, he vaults up another tower of boxes and says, "Shh!" And you can see that he peers out the northern wall, or through a window high up on the northern wall, and he says, "That's interesting.
What are you saying?
I think we should leave. There are 10 people with weapons and torches approaching."
Is there a back door or back?
"Yes, there is." And he jumps down again. He says, "Come on, come with me."
She will follow immediately without looking or thinking. She trusts that little guy much more than the other dude.
He guides you out of the house into, well, I mean, this is really a very derelict part of town. So there are a lot of rundown houses, and he basically shows you kind of like a backyard of another building. And it's also got a wall that is kind of fallen down in places, so it's quite easy for you to peek over the wall, and you can see 10, 12 city guards with halberds and torches coming, and they open the door to Klabauter's house and are searching it.
Do I see the dude that gave me...
So, you say that you were told to come here by somebody who works for the city guard?
Yes.
And as he's saying this, you can see that the flames are catching onto the house, and people are running out, and you can hear them say, "Well, whoever's hiding in here, they won't escape. We'll guard this place." "It looks like whoever sent you here wanted you dead."
But I don't know why. I haven't done anything really except pickpocketing here and there. And trying to steal, not really successful, or not successful at all.
Maybe you stole from the wrong person?
I didn't steal anything.
Well, if I were you, I would try and find out what's going on, because this is the second time, if what you're telling me really happened tonight, that somebody was trying to torch another house that you had broken into. Maybe somebody's out to get you. You might want to get to the bottom of this.
That definitely sounds like an idea. I'm really sorry your house is now in the middle of all of this insanity. Should I help you look for another maybe nice place? Not sure it will have all the crates, but there may be other buildings we can find.
I'm pretty sure I can find some stupid Torvala dragon boat that will ship out with me, and, you know, I'll just puke all over them, and then, you know, they'll throw me overboard and I'll swim back, and, you know, I will steal from them first, and then I'll buy a new house. You know, money is never a problem when you're a Klabauter man.
That sounds like a very good plan. But meanwhile, where you gone? I can keep an eye open. If I find something, I can maybe give you a hint somehow.
That would be nice. And in return, I will do something for you. Because I know just the person to help us with your problem.
Okay.
Follow me.
She'll have a last look at the guards
and these are really, I mean, they definitely wear guards' clothes and uniform, but they're the lowest of the low. They've just torched a building and are standing guard to prevent anyone from inside getting out. So they're out for murder. Your two friends from the guards are not among them.
That's good to know, at least, that because they so far haven't treated her like that. She would, follow the Klabauter man.
Okay. Even though you've never set foot in a school of Hisinde, who's the goddess of knowledge and magic, you always knew that Aventura was much larger than the harbour district of Havena, the place where you were born. Yes, your chosen trade is illegal, but it has its advantages too. You can stay in bed whenever you want to, but this also means that you never know where your next kreuzer is coming from. It is somewhat thrilling to steal from the rich and keep the spoils for yourself, but well, to be honest, you do not really need the thrills. You are surprised to have been cheated out of your promised reward. You are not usually resentful. If there are winners, then there must be losers, and Fex would just advise you to be on the winning side. But your simple way of life has changed forever. Your anger is no doubt driven by lesser motives. But you are probably doing society a favor, just like a true hero. You like to imagine what it must be like to be a heroine, never thinking of yourself, but only of the importance of the task at hand. True. There would probably be some advantages, but it is exciting to imagine a life beyond stealing from harbour rabble and running occasional errands for somebody who thinks he's better than you. Now you're sitting on a raft made from 3 tree trunks tied together and drifting on a branch of the great river deeper and deeper into the flooded undercity, the spooky old part of Havena. You feel like a lone fighter, a brave hero leaving home for distant countries. Well, you're not that alone. Klabauter is clutching your right calf and whining, cursing both his fate and his upset stomach. And then there is this mysterious raftsman, an old hunched man who pulls the raft forward despite his blindfolded eyes. Klabauter says the raftsman is indeed blind, but able to talk to the animals and listen to the swamp so he can find his way in the undercity without help. And this guy really looks like, he is... Oops, I need to get my cat out of the way. Sorry about that. Sorry. I had to move the kitten. And
they
now...
want to join us. See? They want to join us. Like, why?
Yeah, I know. So basically, you are sitting there, and can we just take a brief moment for me to readjust my my computer because it's doing something weird?
Sure.
Let's take a bio break.
Let's just do the bio break, then you can stop.
Okay. So you are still on the raft, and you are now gliding through the swamp of the Undercity, and your little friend is basically, he's not well.
I would try to distract him with silly stories.
Okay.
I heard.
And it's a really strange place. The water is murky. If there was mist in the upper city, the undercity is completely flooded with it. Suddenly you feel something flying just above your head, and you can tell that it's probably a flock of bats. Every so often you hear some bubbling noise in the water, and you can also see those gnarly trees that you sometimes see in like, you know, mangroves, that kind of growth, and there is moss everywhere, and it smells of decay and rot. But you also see the houses of the old city that's been submerged, and some of them are really, really tall. So you're looking at multi-story houses which are almost intact, and then there are some that are and that have already completely collapsed. And suddenly you hear the voice of the raftsman. Can you see the tower to your right? And he points.
I will look.
Avoid that place. A powerful sorceress rules there.
Thank you for the warning.
And then a short time later, you hear the raftsman praying to Efford, the god of the sea, and he says, a dark cult that worshipped a sea serpent once held rituals in the area between those gnarled trees over there. People say the cult disappeared, but who can be certain? And then you hear, did you hear that? And Klabauter is panicking and looking around, and the raftsman says, smugglers. They take no interest in people like us. Most of the time. If we stay quiet. And Klabauter goes, what do?
I will definitely be quiet. Make myself probably even a bit smaller. Put my hood up. I could still imagine she's cliche broke with like a cape and a hood. And would just like just put my hand just on the shoulder of Klabaterman, just like comforting him. It will be fine, just whispering.
After what seems like a very long time, although you can't tell because it seems like this is eternal night, the raft comes to rest on a sandbank, and the raftsman says, our journey ends here. Follow the shallow water over there to the ruins of the old temple of Efford. On the other side, you will find a path that leads you to the building of Gathelta. There you will find the man for whom you seek.
She would just lean into Klabauter. Do we need to pay him?
You can pay me on your final journey.
That's not where are you? Okay. Ruins of the old temple, then to the building.
Don't worry. We will wait for you, whether you return in this manner or another.
But where did you bring me?
Well, you wanted to find that man, and, you know, he knows everyone, dead and alive.
Then let's go.
Don't worry. I would be lying if I told you that the Undercity is not a dangerous place. But I have a good feeling.
Thank you kindly for the smooth ride here. And she would start moving and look at Klabauter like, come on, let's go.
Well, what could possibly go? And he jumps after you, and he basically is submerged almost immediately, because while you can still stand, he can't. And he comes up sputtering.
I will offer if he likes, he can sit on my shoulders.
Yeah, I think that's acceptable. And he climbs up you, and he sits on your shoulder.
Okay.
What could go wrong?
Well, hopefully, based on his opinion, not too much, but we should keep eyes and ears open. And she will walk toward the direction where he pointed that the temple is, or the ruins of the temple.
Okay, so it is actually quite easy to find, because it is the biggest in even in this old place where lots of big houses once stood and still can be seen, or their ruins, even this temple was bigger than the rest. You can still see the marble pillars outside, and they and there are even some remnants of the ceiling and of the roof still there. You can see a giant bust of Effort, Lord of the Sea, you know, with his trident. And it's basically, I mean, you know, the prongs have broken off, and you know, his nose is missing. But you know, this used to be one of the biggest temples to this god, and it must have been really magnificent when it was still standing. And as you look around, you're pretty sure that you just saw something move. And then it's gone. What do? You can either go into the hall of the temple, or you can stay in the shadows close to the wall.
She will definitely stay in the shadows close to the wall. Did he say we need to go through the temple, or
by it or through it? You can go both ways.
Then she would not go through it. She would go by.
Okay.
But stay in the shadows and keep an eye open, and also tell Klabauter to keep eyes and ears open.
Give me a stealth check, please.
Stealth. Not too bad. Stealth. Cool. That's done. That's a done. That's a agility. Oh, I am jealous on her stats. My goodness. That is definitely done. Quality level 2.
Okay, you are very quiet, considering that you're wading through water. And again, you see something to your right. It's like a shadow flittering past you. And then as you look up, it seems like there is a man standing there with a billowing cloak. Just like in the eaves of what used to be the roof. But then when you blink, he's gone. And suddenly the moon disappears and you're plunged into a gloomy twilight.
But did you see that guy?
I saw nothing. No guy. No one. And no billowing cloak either. I don't know what you're talking about. Let's just keep moving.
Yeah, let's just keep moving. She will try to move on around the temple to find the path.
And actually, the raftsman was, his word was good. You can actually find a path. It used to be a street, and it's now flooded, but the pavement on the sides of the street is slightly elevated, so you can actually get across almost dry, with, you know, on dry land.
Okay, let's go there and follow the path. And I would leave open for Klabauter if he wants to stay on the shoulder or walk.
Well, he will actually just jump down and walk next to you.
Okay.
And as you turn a corner, you suddenly see in front of you a chest. A wooden chest just sitting there.
Klabauter, does that always happen down here?
Well, it's a chest. I like chests, but I don't really know about chests down here. I'm not sure. But it's a nice chest. And he walks around it once. Spacious. And he basically measures it with his arms. I wonder what's inside. Should we look?
I'm not sure if that's a good idea.
I don't know either.
It could be a trap. Who would leave a chest in the middle of kind of nowhere? She would look around just to see if she can spot anyone that's
Give me a
looking.
perception check.
Oh boy. No. No. Oh, with an... Oh, let me... 8... Let me... That will be... SG. That's already... And that's 2, that's 6... Nah, I rolled horribly. Horribly. No.
Okay, you know from your own, like, from the stories you've heard, that usually if this is a treasure chest, it would either be guarded by a dragon or at least a gargoyle. There is no one here, so this is a boring chest. Or is it?
We can just look inside. That wouldn't be stealing, right? Just looking inside? Technically?
Well, no, not technically. If you just look, you don't take anything away. So let's open the chest, shall we?
Yeah, let's try if it can be opened just like this.
You rub your hands nervously. A chest. A chest the size of a wardrobe. You open it excitedly, only to find that it's full of clothes, most of which have disintegrated, and it's very dusty. But then you see something sparkle. Gold ducats.
Oh boy, she's so tempted. At the same time, thinking of the place we are in. Yeah, but I don't think this is far as... It's just old clothes, and she would just, like, close the chest if he's not struggling against it.
Okay. You leave the chest behind. So you've kind of now acclimatized, as it were. So, you know, the shadows are less spooky. The ruins are less frightening. The trees are less gnarly. And you've also gotten used to the gargoyles that are on the walls, and they don't scare you. But it's not a nice place. Not during the day, but at night it's really a place for nightmares. And about 20 feet ahead you see that the fog is slowly clearing, and you can see a 2-story house with a flooded lower floor. And above it is written Gartelta's Puppet Theatre.
That is the place he was talking about, right?
Yeah.
Then let's move on, I guess.
Okay.
About who exactly are we looking for?
Well, I suppose your friend. Person who tried to kill you.
You think he's down here?
Well, that's what the raftsman said, and he knows everyone dead and alive.
Then let's be quiet and careful and move on. Moving towards the house. Guess we have to get back into the mucky water.
Okay, you have two. You can do this in 2 different ways. You can either try and climb a little bit so that you don't get wet, or you can swim and dive.
She will climb. Definitely climb.
Okay. Then make a body control check, because what you're doing is you're walking. Well, it's not really like climbing, I guess, but it's more like balancing on a tree trunk.
That looks not too shabby. Body control, agility, check, and con. She does with a quality level 1.
Okay, you have no problem, and you walk across it, and then you turn around, and Klabauter looks at you and he says, "Well, jolly." And then he says, "This is like home," and he just vaults over it. He may get seasick, but his body control is super. You sneak around the house until you find an open window. And inside you see a dark, empty corridor with several doors. So you climb in.
Yeah.
And you're standing in a dark corridor that is illuminated only by hazy moonlight. At the east end of the corridor, narrow stairs lead to the ground floor, which is drowned completely beneath the water of the river delta. Or you can... so basically you decide not to go down, because obviously, I mean, you would have to swim.
Oh no.
So you can either take the western door, or you can try the door that stands partially open in the north wall.
She would go for the easy, partially open one.
Okay, that's number 22. I'm just going to make a note here.
But she would try to peek. She would not like, "Hello, I'm here." She would try to be stealthy.
If the game lets you. If you've been in before, turn to section... No, if not, turn to section 58. So 58, let's see. You are starting to like the role of the heroine. You imagine yourself as a brave champion, a courageous explorer who walks into danger without fear, investigating frightening places, and then you enter what must surely be a chamber of terrors. Make a courage check.
Oh boy. Courage. That's the weakest, or one of the weakest stats. Which makes it, that's a 9. And I have a 10, so made it.
You almost scream, but you stop yourself just in time, for there is no danger here. Your initial feeling of panic gives way to a childish joy that you haven't felt for years, now that you realize where you are. You look at the thing that startled you. Hanging in front of you is a dark hood that hides a darker head. And here I've actually got a picture for you.
Puppet. Since it's...
here we are. And... blip.
Wow.
Indeed.
Creepy.
The figure is dressed in billowing robes. In its right hand it holds a rusting wavy-bladed sword. In its left hand a blood-red whip. A strong draught causes the demon puppet's robes to billow hauntingly. When you touch the figure, you discover that its arms are simple metal rods and its head is made of wood, as is the sword. Its body dangles from strings that run to a wooden cross frame suspended from the ceiling. This unsettling marionette is surrounded by more figures: heroic knights, mysterious mages, hairy orcs, a hunched kobold that reminds you of the raftsman, and a barmaid with an exaggerated bosom. You notice the figure of a long-distance trader that reminds you of old Takrama, and beside it a charismatic youth that resembles you. Hanging above them all, you see the figure of a 6-foot-long dragon. Thank the gods you have never seen a real dragon. Judging from your reaction to harmless marionettes, you are far from ready to meet such a beast. Nevertheless, you gush like a child about the exquisite figures. Sadly, few still possess all of their strings, and most have collapsed to the floor. The stick and hand puppets stored on shelves along the walls of the dark room are also falling apart. You could spend an eternity here and easily forget that you're standing in the ruin of the Undercity. You could also forget your goal to get to the bottom of Rogobald's plans. This realization drags you back to reality. If you knew the right art collector, and you could earn a fortune selling the treasures you found here, but you would have to carry the puppets home, a feat for which you have neither the time nor the strength. You decide to leave the room.
Yeah.
You can go out by one of 3 exits. You can leave the room through the wall in the south, or you can go through a 3-foot hatch in the northwestern corner, or the hidden door in the south. Oh, it's a hidden door, but you found it because it tells you it's there. Or the door in the southeastern corner of the room.
The door in the southeastern, that would be then the curious one, where she would be like, what's behind that one?
What's behind that one? Let's see what's behind that one.
So she would carefully, if it has a keyhole, she would look to that or carefully open it.
Okay. Well, actually, as you basically lean over to look at the keyhole, it actually, you touch the door slightly and it swings open.
Okay.
You squint in the bright illumination of several oil lanterns, blind for just a moment. You do not see anybody in this room, which is otherwise filled with countless marionettes, but somebody must have been here recently. You look around. The room is about half as large as the adjacent puppet storage room through the open door in the northeastern corner. Between the damaged or unfinished puppets there is a shelf of tools, a workbench and a high stool, 2 wardrobes and a shelf holding jars, bottles and wooden and cloth parts for puppets. And suddenly you hear a shrill scream from the opposite room.
Scream like it sounds from Klabauter.
No. He's standing right next to you. He's heard it too.
Okay.
Did you hear that?
Yes. Did that sound like someone who needs help or someone who's angry?
Well, I don't know, but it didn't sound good.
Let's then move on. Whoever's here, someone is still around here. So she will look. Is there another door in this room, or just the one we came through?
Mm-hmm.
The next door.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you get to the door. You look through it because it's actually half open, and you see an iron cage with a blonde girl in it. And then suddenly you see out of the corner of your eye somebody moving, and a massive body slams you from behind and throws you to the ground.
Great.
For as long as you can remember, you never had any thoughts of leaving the dockland or visiting the old flooded part of Havena. And you wish now that you had never done so. And then you had the bright idea to become a heroine. Daringly, you went to the Undercity and sneaked into the empty puppet theatre. Sure, you managed to enter the building, but in the end, you could not even break into a ruin and get out without being caught. What were you thinking? You were no hero, and pretending to be one was just wishful thinking for the most stupid idea of your life. At least you are still alive. Klabauter is nowhere to be seen. Rogobald, or whatever his name might be, has overpowered you, but at least you were not knocked out again. You wonder whether repeated blows to the head can make you crazy permanently. A theory that might explain your current situation or the naivety with which you have been stumbling around. You also wonder if you would have preferred unconsciousness, the special gift of Boron, the god of sleep. But if you had been unconscious, you would not have noticed Rogobald tying your wrists to your chair. You also would not notice him dragging the crying little girl from the next room into the puppet workshop. The poor thing is wearing a metal collar. Even slavers don't use metal collars on children. Rogobald throws her roughly on the workbench and ties her down with ropes. He calls the little girl Murna. Make a sagacity check. Or intuition, which one's better?
Intuition. Yep, that's a 3.
You remember that name?
It's the girl I saw through the keyhole.
Yeah, indeed. Rogobald pauses and examines his handiwork. Then he turns away suddenly and opens a drawer in the workbench, looking for something. You have different options. You can ask him to leave Murna alone. You can ask him about the meaning of all of this, or you can stay silent. Which do you choose?
She would ask him what's the meaning of all of this.
Good. Rogobald does not respond to your question. Instead, he takes a rusty saw from a drawer and stands up. Don't you think it would be quite cliché to tell you about my plan? This is not a story by that horrible writer Aideen Connolly Fremling. Of course it would be cliché, he continues, but as I see it, we still have some time left. He taps the saw against Murna's collar. You must think I'm a monster, because I have done many things no man should ever do. Don't act stupid. The 2 redheads in the basin, the elf, the mermaid, I am the one the people call the Vampire of Havena.
And why on earth did you wanna kill me? Burn me? Probably not.
I will kill you in the end, but you know.
What do you want with the poor girl?
He turns to the girl and he says, I think she deserves to learn more. You won't run away, my darling, will you? And he turns back to you and you can see that the girl has started crying. I've already told you that I killed the red-haired girls, the elf and the mermaid. I wish it did not have to be so, but none of them was the right person. And then that dolt Tarkrama asked me to replace his old seal with a new one. That is when I saw her, little Murna, and her gift. I had hoped to get Murna alone, but old Takrama keeps her hidden from the public. The little princess almost never leaves the house. Her own father keeps her locked up in her room. How does that make you feel? Like a little bird in a golden cage? I never could have managed to kidnap Murna from Takrama's konto without your help. You see, she has the gift. And I want it. And I feel it's in their blood. So I drained everyone else of blood and I drank it, but it didn't work. But I think it's because their magic had already attuned itself to them. So I couldn't absorb it. But in this girl who's completely untrained, whose magic has been suppressed, I believe that if I get her essence into my body, it will stay with me. So, you see, I had to find somebody as a distraction. Somebody stupid enough to, you know, even if they came across Murna, they would not try and rescue her. They wouldn't even question what they saw because I had told them that to get me the papers. So, you know, and then you followed me here. You should have just stayed away. But, you know, that's what I'm doing. And that's why I'm here. What do you want to do?
We have options. If not, the first thing she would try to see how well he tied her up.
Okay. So, well, you would say that he probably wasn't as diligent as he could have been.
Then she would just stare at him and wait for him to turn away from her.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he actually does because he says, well, you know, but now enough talk. I need to get on with it. So you just stay where you are. You can watch the show. It's fine. And once I'm done with her, you and I will have a little talk. And he turns around. So do you want to scream at him or do you want to kick him?
She would try to kick him. Definitely. Mm-hmm. She feels horribly because she talked about the girl as well. So she would try to kick him, maybe make him stumble. And probably whispering just very, very clearly, Clabotis map would be good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so give me a body control check -3.
Ooh, that was good. I clearly need to change the dice for my character for tomorrow. She needs to roll these dice. They are much better than the other ones. She definitely makes it with, let me see, agility is a 15. That is done, and con, easily done. So with a 7, quality check 3. Or quality level 3.
Wow. Okay. So you lash out at him with your leg and you almost hit him. However, something happens as you do so. You break your bonds. He turns around and he's still got the saw in his hand, but now you're free. So you basically roll out of the way, you jump up and you face him. Do you want to challenge him? Do you want to wave your saber at him, or do you want to attack him?
I want to attack him.
Okay.
Just tackle him. Surprise is probably the best way to go.
Okay, make a feat of strength check. That's con strength +2 because you know, he is surprised.
Oh, she has 0 for that. Let's see, but +2 you said. No.
Do you want to use a chip?
We will try. It's the worst stat for her, so I'm not sure. Yes, I will use a chip. And that is much better. That is so much better. That is a 9, a 3, and a 7.
Yeah, you've
means
passed.
she makes it.
Yeah.
I have 3 chips, right?
Yeah, so you've got 1 left. And you've got an extra freebie because you nailed that first, remember?
Oh, true. Yeah.
You did really well. Okay, so you push Rogobald into the marionettes, and you know, some of them fall down and break, and he hits the ground with his head hard, and he's also a little bit tangled in the puppet strings. So you now get to make 2 attacks with your saber against him, and he cannot defend.
Great. Let's try that. Where's the saber? There. No, the first one is a 19. That will not hit. Second one also doesn't hit. Great.
Okay. So then we're going to roll for initiative.
How do we roll initiative?
It's a d6 and your initiative value.
Where is my initiative value?
Your initiative is 13.
Okay. Rolled a 3.
Okay, you go first.
Okay.
And don't forget you've got feint, so you can basically decrease your attack by 1, and then he gets a -2 on his parry.
Ah, there I have it. See, feint, improved dodge, 1 in combat, precise shot. Okay. Let's see.
And you hit Klabauter. Kill him! Kill him!
That's an 11. That will hit.
Okay. So did you use feint, or did you just attack normally?
She would use feint. She would
Okay,
try
so
to
then
be
his-
clever
his,
and smart
his
about it.
parry is at 5, and he doesn't parry. You can do damage.
Let's see, let's see, let's see. That is a 3, 7 points of damage.
Wow, cool. Okay. 7. Okay. And then he tries to hit you back, and with a 5 he would hit.
I have. What is the improved dodge that I have?
That is a good question. I think that is when it's hand to hand.
Okay, then the saber, does it have parry is the question.
Yeah, it should.
It should, yeah, it has. So she will try to parry. Which she does. She rolled a 2.
Okay, then it's you.
And then next saber strike, that is a 6, that will hit.
Okay, and you fainted, so he doesn't parry.
Oh, that's a 5, so 9 points of damage.
Okay, so he is now at 17, so he's now at pain +1. Okay. So he tries to hit you, and with a 7 he would, even with the pain factor.
Okay. Can I parry again?
Yes, of course.
Or try to parry? Try to parry is the better wording for an 18.
Okay, and he does damage, and it's 6 points of damage.
Okay.
I don't think you have any armor.
No, I don't. At least not in the spreadsheet.
Yeah, then you don't.
6. Okay. Let me just see.
Oh, you do, you do.
Wait, sturdy
You
clothes.
have minus
I
1 to. You have sturdy clothes. That's 1 point of protection, so he would only do
5.
5. Yeah. Okay, then it's you again.
Attack again. That's a 7 hit.
And he even, oh god, he even parries with a 5, so he would have a 6 to parry, so that didn't work. So he's gonna hit you back, and with an 8 he hits you.
Parry?
Yep.
I don't.
Okay, so he does. Well, this is a true TDE fight, and he does 9 plus 2, so it's 6 points of damage. 7 points of damage, so 6 you take.
6. So we are at, that's 11, so I'm 18. When do I get,
What is your total?
29. So I'm definitely at 1 pain.
Okay, so minus 1 to everyone, yeah. Oh, to everything. Okay, so then it's you again.
I'm just trying to do math. Yeah. The other saber.
Mm-hmm.
An 8, that should hit.
And he doesn't parry.
Great. Then that's 7 points.
Okay, pain 2. And he tries to hit you. And with a 16 he doesn't.
Okay. She will just go with the saber again. She's just like quite panicky. That's an 11 hits.
Yeah, okay. Then he
With a -1.
he doesn't parry.
Okay. That's a 6. That's 10 points.
And he's dead. He had 10 points left. He falls over. And he basically, I mean, you stab him right in the chest. You're full of anger now, and he just basically falls to the ground, and you can tell that he's dead because his eyes basically glaze over. They stay open, and his whole body relaxes, and all of his muscle control goes. And then Klabauter, did you kill him? Did you kill him? Did you kill him?
I think I did.
That's good, then maybe we can get the girl and get out of here, because this is really kind of spooky.
Yeah, that's definitely not a good thing. She would rummage through his pockets. Just because he lied to her, he treated her badly. She's still not sure if he's a liar or not about the whole "I killed everyone" thing. But definitely he was insane, and she will see if he has anything in the pockets that's worth the money. Or money itself.
Well, yeah, you do find money. You do find 20 ducats.
She will definitely pocket down, and she will run over to the girl.
She's crying, and Klabauter is trying to comfort her, but he's not succeeding. I mean, he does not look very, trust-inspiring. He looks like a potato, essentially. Will you kill me too? She asks with a small trembling voice.
He's a friend. He's I'm good. I'm really sorry they took you. Let me try to get you out of this.
Yeah, you can take the saw, and you can saw off the necklace. Yeah.
Although the neck thing she had on before, right? She's just sitting there, or was she bound somehow?
Well, she's tied to it, yeah. So she's basically, but he has untied her. Klabauter has untied her, so she now has only got this necklace on. She's sitting on this workbench.
Then Meg would look at Morna. Morna is your name?
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
I've seen you before. You had the collar already. Should we get it off, or do you want to keep it?
I don't know. I mean, it's supposed to Well, you know why I have to wear it, right?
Yeah, I get that. The question is if you wanna do that, and also, do you wanna get back to your father? Should we bring him back, or do you wanna?
I actually don't want to go back. I want to leave.
Then we will find a way. Find a way. And she would then saw the color off. That would be definitely the first thing to do, because if she's with that girl like this in the street, that will definitely cause trouble. So, trying to get rid of the color.
As you do this, and as the collar falls away, suddenly the room lights up. I'm sorry, I can't control it, but it was so dark and I was afraid. So sometimes when, before, and she points to where the collar used to be, and you can actually see that she's got a bruise right around her neck. So it must have been quite tight and quite uncomfortable. That's why they put it on. I can't control it, but someone said that there are schools you can go to where they teach you how to use it.
Yeah, I heard that as well. Or would Meg know, like
Yeah.
one of the school buildings? She probably hasn't been inside, but at least where
You
they
would
are.
know. You would know definitely. You would also know that Havena isn't the right place to learn, but that there are places, and that yes, this is because magic does exist. It's just that some Havenians are still weird about it.
We will find a place. We can leave Havena if we need to. I've got at least a little bit of money. And as I said, Klabata is a friend, so don't worry about him. I know he looks different, but he's one of the good ones.
Oh, if it's money you want, that's not a problem. And she points to a wardrobe. There's money in there.
Oh, then let's grab it. That will make life easier to get away from all of this. And she would go to the wardrobe just.
You open the wardrobe, and in there is a little strong box. It's this big, and it's closed but not locked. I mean, if you live here, you don't need to lock your strong boxes because nobody ever comes here. And it contains, at first glance, you would say probably easily 200 ducats, gold ducats. This is a lot of money.
A big whistle. I can't whistle very well, so I will not do that, but big whistle, and she will just take it, grab it. This will definitely give us a way to get out of here and get you to school. That will help you.
She jumps from the workbench. She's maybe 7 or 8, so she's a lot smaller than you. So she takes your hand, and she says, "So let's leave.
Yep.
I know a way." And she leads you out of the building.
Okay.
You make your way back, and you can see actually that she is kind of a little bit glowing. So around her it's not quite dark, and she's almost like a light person walking ahead of you, so the darkness seems to recede from her. And you reach the shore, and you can see the raft, and there's the raftsman, and he said, "Didn't I say I had a very good feeling about this?"
You did. Thank you for waiting for us. Can you take us back?
Where would you like to go? I can take you wherever.
Well, would like to go to a place where there is a school that would train magic.
For this one, and he looks
Yes.
at the girl. I
It's a
think
nice one.
she should go to Garit.
Then let's go there. I also have money to pay you.
You will see me one last time on your last journey. Pay me then.
You said that before. It sounds a bit creepy, to be honest, but okay. Deal?
Deal.
Klabata, are you coming with us?
Well, Garit, I've never been to Garit. You see, it's kind of landlocked, but then again, I get sick on boats anyway, so yeah, why not?
What a team to go, but hey, we get on the raft. I will help. I will have Mona to get on there, and well, I think Klabauta is quick enough to jump on as well, and then we'll just sit down and wait where the ferryman brings us.
Yeah, it's a good thing that you haven't paid him yet because you didn't even fix the price because we all know we don't do this until we get to the other side.
Yep.
And actually, from Havena, you can go up the Great River, and it will, I believe, in the end, take you as far as Garit if you follow it through. Garit itself is on a different river, but we shall just say that he takes you as far as Ferdok. It's gonna, you know, that this should take you a lot longer than it does. You have a feeling that this guy doesn't really follow any river but his own. And you arrive in Garit, and that's the end of the story. And that's the end of the Vampire of Havena. And I hope that you enjoyed it a little bit. I know it's very different from the way we normally play
But
together.
that was still
It's a very scripted story.
so weird, but so cool.
And I hope that people enjoyed it as well. I mean, this is the closest that we will probably get to playing the Dark Eye in English on my channel, simply because you would need a full group of people, and we just don't have enough English speakers that would be able to go through a game. But we may be back with Call of Cthulhu.
That is always fun. Cthulhu is always good.
Yeah, there is a collection of one player. It's really one player, one DM adventures, so it's not scripted. It's called Monophobia, the fear of being alone.
Never heard of that. So interesting.
And it's made for a single player and a single DM, and we will look into this because Victoria really loves Call of Cthulhu, as do I, and she's an excellent Call of Cthulhu player.
Thank
So
you.
we
Thank
wish
you for running all of this for me, and
Thank you
yeah,
for
as I
playing,
said,
because it is quite a challenge, because it is meant to be, you sitting there reading your own texts and that kind of thing. So
it was really, really fun. So at least for me, I hope for the viewers as well. But for me, it was really, really fun.
I totally enjoyed it, and especially because this is one of the, I mean, if you ever check out this game, and you can, it's free to download and you can play it yourself. It is actually a really nice introduction. It explains how die rolling works. It explains a lot about the history. You learn about the gods. You learn about Aventurian. And it's a nice intro, and it also, I think, displays the archetype of the rogue really well, because you have all of the possibilities that a rogue has, all of these skills. You do a little bit of fighting,
Yeah.
you do a little bit of exploration, and the story itself is also quite nice.
It's a really nice story.
It's a really nice story. So, thank you all for watching. Thank you for playing. And we'll see each other very soon, you and I, tomorrow.
Yep.
And hopefully we will see all of you very soon on our channel again. Bye!
Bye bye.